Welcome back to Recruiting is No Joke. It is your host, Joel Lalji. I am super excited this week. We've got another fun episode where we're going to look at some interesting takes on LinkedIn. We're going to look at some TikTok content, and we're going to just chat about the state of recruitment. So I am honored to have Tom Woodhams on the show. And for you guys who don't know Tom, if you don't know him, you need to go follow him on LinkedIn. Right now, he is working for a division of Sony, and we were talking about this offline, but Hawkeye Innovations, that I didn't really know what that was, so Tom's kind of got me up to speed. But welcome to the show. Good to have you here, Tom. Good to see you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Appreciate being in, and I'm really excited to dive in and find out a little bit more about some of the things that you're going to be bringing up. So have them debunk and do it.
Well, look, I gave you the option too. I said before the show, I said, do you have any content pieces that you think are interesting? And your response was, I don't want to have to do work, or you're like making me work hard before the podcast. So I'm like, all right, well, it's going to be a surprise then. But no, I'm super excited to have you on the show. I gave you a little introduction, but just get us quickly up to speed. I'd be interested to know a little bit more about what you're doing recruitment wise right now. And then if you want to share a little bit too about what you do on LinkedIn, because you're super active on LinkedIn. You've got a great following on LinkedIn. You put out some awesome content, and you got an engaged crowd. So get us up to speed quickly, and then we'll jump into some of this content that we're going to go through.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So my name's Tom. I'm one of the senior talent partners for Hawkeye, which are part of Sony Sports Businesses. Been in
shout out to Sony.
Been in recruitment. I've been in recruitment over 8 years now, only focusing on software engineering and data. That's the only thing I've ever done. So outside of work, I code myself, massive nerd. What I do on LinkedIn, massive neurodivergent, especially having ADHD myself, diagnosed, medicated over 5 years ago. So the content that I do is obviously for job seekers and neurodivergence with ADHD to kind of manage not just how to do work and obviously apply for jobs with that mindset, but also trying to help people understand their own condition and how to manage that better through other sort of methods, or trying to understand themselves from just my own experiences having it and being on the medication and the pros and cons of that.
I love it, guys. And if you're not following Tom, just go follow him, because I think your content, it's fun, it's authentic. You're not using, ChatGPT to give us the latest hacks on how to grow on LinkedIn. Like you're being yourself, you're real. And I think that's why you've been able to grow and just get an engaged following at the end of the day. And so we're actually talking about helping job seekers. I'm going to share here, and hopefully my computer doesn't glitch out, but can you see this? Can you see the post? Let's see.
I can see that.
Awesome. And guys, look, I'm getting an upgrade on my laptop too, so it might be a little bit glitchy for now, but coming soon when I'm sharing these screens, it's going to work a lot better. So for any of you guys who are just listening out there, this is a post from Tom, and this is what it says. Here are 9 things that I would be ticking off my list. That's checking off my list for all of you Americans out there when it comes to job hunting or interviewing. Number 1, tailor your resume. Match it to each vacancy. And I like how you put in parentheses, if needed there. 2, optimize your LinkedIn profile to attract more eyeballs. Network. Time to get to know people. Learn new skills. Fill in the gaps for your next job. Showcase your work. We need to see more of that. Follow up after interviews. You deserve to know why. You always deserve to know why. Stay positive. Support yourself whenever possible. Be open to feedback. It's essential for growth. Be flexible. Sometimes the right path is just a little outside of your current scope. And then 10, and I love this one, don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. And then you ask the question, what is your best piece of advice? Now, here's my comment on there. So for any of you guys who are out there and can see it, you can see what I commented. But, for anyone who can't see it, I said, okay, we need to chat about the tailoring for each vacancy thing. And we got into a little conversation there, but
and then I've got
let's go through this.
Absolutely. If you actually bring up that particular conversation, that was doing what was it? What's the the thing. Mansplaining. Then I got called that I was sexist, which was
all right. We got to go back. Hold on. Let's go back here.
That was the post that literally. And I went, hey, we didn't do that.
Yeah, you sent me a DM. You're like, who is this person?
I'm not getting. I was like, that. I'm like the least.
All right. So let's just go through this. And look, this is all fun and games here. We're not trying to get at people, but we said, okay, we need to chat about this tailoring for vacancy thing. And then Christine said, agreed, nobody has time for this. And then Tom said, based on your experience, if you're missing stuff out, would never lie, but haven't got it. I hope that makes sense. And then Christine, super easy. You get the job description, you see CV, ask ChatGPT, advice on what you could be missing. You're not lying or faking any information, just simple suggestions. And then Christine goes, I'm aware it's not lying. This isn't a situation where a female needs mansplaining. There's never all right. And it gets into it. And look, this happens on LinkedIn, right? Probably why people don't put themselves out there. But yeah, look, you're trying to help people, right? But I am curious, like, what is this tailoring your resume? Because I hear this a lot. I see you added the if needed. I don't think that was there before, but why would you need to tailor it to each vacancy? Get us up to speed.
Yeah, I think when it comes to obviously applying for jobs, there is obviously a certain criteria that you have. So let's obviously talk from a tech perspective because that's all I know. So let's say you're a Java engineer.
Perfect.
And obviously then applying, let's say, a front-end developer, right?
Okay.
But you have the Java skills you have the right skill set for that Java engineer, but you're presenting as a front-end engineer. I think sometimes when it comes to like keywords in a job description, not everyone, let's be honest. Personally, I would struggle to write my own CV. Actually, I'm going to change struggle because I hate using that word. I find it challenging to even write my own CV. I think when you write, if you're a genuine CV coach or CV writer, there is separate entities like recruiter. We can identify good CVs and obviously see what, especially when you're working in your industry, what's good and what's bad. But I personally wouldn't be able to do it. So I think when it comes to identifying the right points, you don't always have to use ChatGPT. I'm not saying I am obviously quite pro AI. Obviously, as we both know, MetaView, a great way to a great tool.
Shout out to MetaView.
Yeah, shout out to MetaView. But sometimes I think it's worth just checking it over again. You don't have to use ChatGPT. You could obviously see what am I missing from my CV that would match. Your CV could be like bang on, but I think if you do actually really care about the job, and this is something that you really want to go into, why not get a proofread? You're not changing anything. You're not using ChatGPT. It could make you suggestions. It's just giving you advice. Not everyone knows everything about everything, and you know how hard it is at the moment in general to get a job, and how the market is. I like to say this term because it seems to be the new thing. It's wild out there. It's wild.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it's brutal. So I think to give you the best chance possible, it's worth maybe just checking it over, or check it with someone else. But I think sometimes it's just to get some suggestions or to give you the best chance possible. That's what I meant by that.
Look, I think because I hear this all the time from career coaches, resume writers, where they're like, tailor your resume to each job description. And in my mind, I go, if you go back to that example, right? And I've never recruited tech, but let's say I'm looking for a Java engineer. Conceptually, when I always think about recruiting, what I'm always thinking about is like, not just like what skills do you say you have or what keywords do you have. I literally am always trying to focus on like what's the work and what of like the accomplishments. What's the scope of what you're doing? What are the projects you've worked on? So, if you're an engineer, okay, well, what's the product that you worked on? And, how big was your team? Were you managing a budget? Paint me a picture. And I think, if you're an accountant, then I want to know, okay, were the account payables £300,000 or were they 30 million pounds? Because it's gonna give me a perspective on the level and the scope of work that you've done. And so that's what I focus on. But what I've realized, and maybe you can shed some light on this, is there are a lot of recruiters, and I'm thinking like, maybe you're an internal recruiter and you've got 20 recs that you're working on, 20 openings, and you've got lots of applicants coming in. then maybe you're sorting through those applicants with those keywords. So if you don't have those keywords on your resume, it doesn't matter how good you've done describing your accomplishments. You may not just show up, through that filter that they've decided to put on there with those keywords because they were listening to what the hiring manager said, but they maybe they don't know like the full understanding of the job, right? So is that happening? Like, walk me through, because you're on the inside.
So if you're talking or referring to like ATL spots or filtered by automation.
No, I'm referring to like, hey, you got 1,000 applicants.
Okay. Well,
I want to filter things down with some keywords.
How would I?
Right? The recruiter's going to enter in.
Yeah, so I've got 100 applicants, and then how would I then go, well, these are the best 10, and they're all quite similar. I think it would probably be down to experience and projects. That is really, if you're missing one thing off the, let's say, for example, like AWS, Amazon Web Services, and that particular candidate didn't mention AWS, but this particular candidate did, but they've probably got more experience. I am obviously going to go through it and obviously check. You know what it's like? You're playing Cupid pretty much. But obviously having the knowledge and obviously understanding the projects and the technical expertise that what they're doing, you can kind of gauge of how big they are, and obviously that's it. But I think sometimes when you are talking about a more filtered approach with it, then I would be going down to keywords and looking at the tech, because obviously we go through all our applicants, so that would definitely be the
and look, and if you're dealing with an experienced recruiter like yourself, right? I mean, you've been in there 8 years. You're long enough to know that, hey, sometimes you just get a bad resume, but like the person's actually done great work, right? We've all had that where it's just a bad resume. But like your job is to take those 100 applicants, get them down to 5 to 10 qualify, or whatever that metric is. And ultimately it goes to deliver some good conversations to the hiring manager, where they're not going to look at you and go, well, why did you send me this person?
Yeah.
But if you're junior, then it's like it's like you're trying to figure out what the hiring manager's saying. You really are going to be more keyword focused. And then, so I think that's what I've become aware of. It's like, you just don't know who's on the other end, and you don't know what that process is. And great, you get a senior recruiter that understands conceptually the roles they're recruiting for and can kind of read between the lines and go, oh, I see that you worked at this company similar to ours. Awesome, because they know the industry. Then maybe you can miss it. Maybe you miss a couple keywords and they're still going to reach out to you because they just know the industry. But you get that person who just started in the industry 6 months ago, they're not going to know that. And so then it's like, that's where the risk is,
I think as well is that, especially, like, I understand how hard it is to get a job. Like, literally you see it. But I think a lot of people, what they do is, in tech, is that they label all the technologies, and when you actually go and ask them a question around the technology, they go, oh, actually, I only did that in university. And then you're like, well, okay, so can you, oh no,
I know.
And it's like, well, just like you're going to ask these questions. I don't want, the thing is, I think a lot of people with TA, they get confused that we don't want people to get the jobs. We're not agency recruiters. We want to fill the requisitions just as much as the hiring team or the business.
Yeah.
We're not a blocker, but it's pointless. Just be specific of what your skills are. It's like the skill bars. I'm 3 out of 4 in Spanish, or I'm 1 in Spanish, and there's 5 stars for leadership. And you think that might be 5, without sounding harsh, that might be 5 stars of leadership in your brain, but that might not be 5
exactly.
stars. That might not be 5 stars in Hawkeye. So I think taking that out, because obviously you see Spanish and you think, well, you can order a coffee, but you can't negotiate a contract. So,
well, that's where it's like, it's showing, not telling, right? And going, hey, it's like when people go, yeah, my skills leadership. All right, well, how big was the team that you managed? Oh, yeah, I never managed a team.
Yeah.
Right, well, then what's the leadership, right? Whereas, like, if you're like, hey, I like going to your point, like, hey, I'm fluent in Spanish. Okay, cool. Yeah, I managed, a 200 global workforce. 70% of it was based in LATAM, where they spoke Spanish and Portuguese. Yeah, okay, so yeah, you do know, right? It's like, hey, I know I'm proficient in Excel. Awesome. So how do you use it in your job? I don't. Well, you're not that proficient, then, are you? So
I just do my shopping.
I think that's the point that I try and hammer home to people, right? It's like, show, don't tell, and like get smart with the keywords. But I've also become more aware of, like, And I actually like that you put in parentheses there, like when needed, because I think you've got to be smart nowadays and just realize like you don't know who's on the other end of it.
Of
So
course.
like if there is something that's crucial that they've maybe mentioned 4 or 5 times and you do actually have experience with that and it's not on your resume, then it's worth double checking it and just adding it on
Just
there.
double checking it. Double check. No, it's good.
Exactly. No,
Whatever
I
you
love
do,
it.
don't
Well,
use
let's
an
take a
Indeed.
look at
Whatever you do, don't use an Indeed template builder. That is the worst.
those resumes.
Oh,
I remember when I first started in recruitment and I get those through and I'd be like, what are you, why? This is the worst. It's like Indeed. I don't know why they have the ugliest resume. You think they would just do themselves a favor and just add in there like a cool resume builder that makes it look nice?
yeah.
They would probably get so
A
much
bit of
more business.
AI, like customization. I see that. I just think like you're being lazy, pretty much. You might as well be in a
That's what I think too.
1960s film. You might as well just do that and carry on.
Only thing worse is like when you get like it's just like a straight like Word doc with like zero editing on there. That's the only thing worse. But all right, let's take a look at this. So this is a video that I found on my favorite place to go when I'm doing anything, and that is
I'm just
TikTok.
hoping it's not
So
me.
I'm gonna share
I
here.
just hope it's not me when I have my TikTok account and me body popping. Okay, maybe it's not. That's all right.
You should still do those. No, check this out. This is we're gonna just talk about this because this happens a lot.
Who told you about this job?
Okay.
Hey, I'd like to apply for this job. Who told you about this job? Who told you we were hiring? How did you find out about this? I was just Googling job opportunities in this sector. I have a lot of experience. I would love to tell you about. Sorry, are you like a soldier or did you used to be a soldier or something? Soldier, a veteran? No, do I need to be? And are you missing a leg as defined by the 1972 Americans with Only One Leg Act? No, but I have a lot of experience and I think I would be a great fit. Can you lift 40 pounds? Sorry, this is a desk job. Just answer the question. Yeah, I can lift 40 pounds. And you have to tell us your race. Although, don't worry, we're not going to use your race to make our decision. Last question. I hope it's about my resume. What was the month, day, and year that you began and ended your last 8 positions?
All right. So in case you didn't see the beginning of this, applying for a job in 2024 on Workday. What I want to chat about is, for me, this is Canada's experience, right? This is the state of Canada's experience, and I'm curious from your standpoint, like why on one hand do we have easy apply, which is making things really easy to apply, and then we've got other application processes that are obviously just irritating to people. And like, how did we get, because I think of like Workday, right? Where it's like submit your resume and then you enter in all this other information. So like, why do companies do this? Like just so job seeker. I mean, I have an idea of why this happens, but from your perspective, like why are we making it so hard for people to just apply for jobs? Like why are we at this point?
One thing I wouldn't use Workday, but we use Ashby for internal systems. For
shout out to Ashby.
Yeah, shout out to Ashby. It's a hard one. I think with businesses, they want to collect data. I think that's kind of one of the key things. I think they want to know what they don't have is obviously probably a D&I plan, or they don't have a D&I inclusion point, because it's kind of like one of them things where they just need a tick box exercise by saying, oh yeah, we're inclusive. We've got a wheelchair ramp that makes us inclusive. But it's just really just a tick box for that particular fit. But I think with Easy Apply, I'm a massive fan of Easy Apply, just because it's not easy. Let's put it that way. You're basically throwing your hat in the ring with loads of people. I don't think, when I do see that, that's obviously, I think, red flag, because obviously the amount of fake jobs that do go out, and obviously it's just an easy way of just collecting data from people.
Yeah.
But I think with hiring it, people, they do make it hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They do make it hard. I don't agree by uploading a CV and then having to fill out all that information out again. Like that's not even, like, if I'm being honest, because I've got ADHD and that part of that neurodivergence piece, admin puts me off, if I'm being honest. like upload CV. If I've got clean CV from all the applicants,
Yeah.
it's the worst thing. Why would I need to then do it all again? Um, I said it's I think it's sometimes trying to collect loads of different data points from different cultural backgrounds, because they don't understand themselves. But if they collect all this data, then they can then finally use it for where obviously maybe they're obviously candidates coming from, talent pools, different ages, beliefs, as I said, cultural backgrounds, and then obviously they can make probably more hiring decisions with that particular data where they need to go.
Look, I completely agree. I think this is it's kind of going back to that last point, right? Because obviously we talked about tailoring a resume for each job and like the importance of that, or like why it's important, right? Because it's hard to find a job. You don't want to let that job go because you're missing one keyword. But then it's like, okay, now I got a workday application that I got to fill out, right? And I think this is why, like, when I think about if I've got to apply, and this is from, you know, a couple of companies I work with that have like auto apply tools, they're seeing like 1% to 3% response rates.
Wow.
At least for like a lot of like the white collar, like tech jobs, sales jobs, anything that's white collar right now in the US, it's like a 1% response rate. So if you figure you've got to fill out, you know, 50 to 100, do 50 of these 100 of these applications, it's like, it's just so much, it's so much work. And I think what I've noticed is like, I've done a lot of posts around like how brutal the job market is. And like people who have jobs, they kind of downplay it and they're like, oh, we'll just do this. Or just go do this. But then it's like, as a job seeker, you got to think about, all right, I've got to apply for the right position. Now I've got to tailor my thing. Now I got to do this application. And it's just crazy. And, you know, I think right now in this market, like people will go through it, but I just was looking forward. And I'm like, when the market shifts and it goes, you know, to where it's been since I started in recruitment, which is more of that candidate market where there's just not that many people who have the skills and it's hard to find talent. It's like, surely someone's going to come up with something where, you know, maybe it's not easy apply because obviously we just talked about that, but maybe what like medium apply where it's like, I think you should have to go through some hurdles, or maybe there's something you have to go through, because otherwise you just end up with 1,500 people that aren't even qualified. But it's like Workday. Workday has such a bad reputation, and it's just, that's a platform everybody complains about. And I'm like, are they not listening to feedback and just thinking like, oh, is there any way that we can just parse some of this information from the resume? You know, because at that point, it's like, what's the point of even taking a resume if you're going to make people fill it out?
I think as well, like this is something that I don't know if I should be saying this or not, but something that we're working on in general is like, especially with engineers, more around like gamification, like processes. So like maybe doing, let's say for example, like a junior developer or an engineer, let's say kind of in our other sort of realm, no CV, just basically doing skills-based hiring. So you'd be set like a project or a task in that with a set score. So that would be, if you can do that, and obviously that you can see that. The thing is, not everyone, especially in tech, are very good at communicating with maybe interviews, communication styles.
Look, interviews to me are complete nonsense at this point because they're not working. All right, we have high turnover, low employee engagement, and like loyalty's at zero. So like interviews, it's like performance, it's not working. It's just not working, right? It's what we're doing right now is not working. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
That's right. No, I think like it definitely like a very strong point. Like it means that you are cutting out the bias. Like you could come on and do this like gaming, which would be fun because obviously be part of that sort of candidate experience as you're talking about, that kind of like, oh my God, this is kind of the project work I'll be doing, that, and then do the score. And obviously if that score comes out, then that's an offer. Then you don't have to go through that interview process. It's just based on that.
Would you pay for that then? Would you pay for that time?
Would you pay,
like,
as in pay the candidate? I think personally it depends how long that particular project. We wouldn't be asking them to solve like a problem. It'd just be like
solve our biggest business problem, please.
Cheers for that. Solve our business problems by that. But
it's funny. That was actually someone posted about that the other week on Twitter, and they were like, they actually deleted a tweet, and they were like, hack, like get people to work for free, like to have them solve your biggest business problem, and then they deleted it because it's just such a bad take.
I can imagine, but they do that. I think like there's like where you have to do a technical test, and I think sometimes what that technical test is basically, we don't want to pay for a contractor, so can you give us some inspiration from a solution that you're going to give for 2 hours, and then basically go, oh, actually we didn't think of that. Yeah, nice one. But the thing is, people are not stupid these days. I think that's where, obviously with LinkedIn, and obviously people are becoming more educated by the day, and people are evolving, and people have now, I think personally, have got a voice. So you have to kind of tread carefully a lot more now when you're speaking about recruitment, your own personal views about something, because I think before people were like, yeah, oh, that's well good. Now you get challenged. You're getting challenged. And I think, well, where did that come from? Like, just like you said about the original post that you just showed about me, or that showed not about me, but the post that I talked about, getting challenged. I've never been, well, I have been challenged, but someone calling me out on something, I'm like, hey, like
I know,
like, it was good. It's a nice thing to be challenged. I just think people do go a bit above and beyond sometimes, and can really, it can be quite nasty. Sometimes it can be quite.
Well, look, it's emotionally charged. There's a lot of emotionally charged people right now, because there's a lot of people who are going through hardships. Yeah, I would not say that this is like an easy time. At least over here in the States, I imagine a similar thing in the UK, where it's like it's been a tough like almost decade now at this point. But really, particularly the last 4 years have been a tough time. Like just collectively, globally, we've gone through a lot of really kind of tough things. And social media now, people are finding their voice a lot more, and they will say that. I mean, if you want to see some, like, you ever want to have some entertainment, go to my Instagram and look at some of the videos that have gone viral, and just see like what people say. People are mean. Like, at least on LinkedIn, it's got their employers, so you can, there's a little accountability. But Snapchat, go into my Snapchat, it's even worse.
Really?
Here, I want to take a look at. Let's take a look at this one real quick. We're gonna switch it. Let's switch the focus here a little bit. This is because I want to get your take on this. So, do you follow Morgan on TikTok at all?
I don't have any. I actually had TikTok, and I had quite a big following on it. And then I met my fiance on that platform, and then I moved up from, obviously, if you know Brighton, from Sussex. I then moved up to Manchester to be with my fiance, and she was my TikTok crush. And then after that platform, kind of just have LinkedIn, because it's like creating that sort of level of content on multiple platforms. You end up.
I have some idea.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And yeah, you understand. So I just have LinkedIn now.
All right. Well, no. So Morgan, for anyone who doesn't know Morgan, her TikTok is Resume Official. And I've been connected with Morgan. She's on LinkedIn as well. Doesn't have a big following over there, but she does a lot of like these news coverage stories. Right. Let's hear what she's got to say. And this is all around my favorite topic, as you guys all know, one of them. And this is about remote work and so if any of you can't say, basically she's standing in front of a article that says employees are spending the equivalent of a month's grocery bill on the return to office and growing ever more resentful, new survey finds. So let's hear what she's got to say about this. And then I want to get your take on this, Tom.
Executives have admitted they don't have data to support going back to the office, but they're still comfortable having you spend $561 a month on it. Usually when we see a return to office mandate, they talk about the culture. But here's the thing. When you take away people's flexibility and have them start spending more money on a commute, they end up more burned out and stressed. And that compounds when you add on a commute that's more than 30 minutes. And nothing screams good culture like employees that are completely stressed and burned out. And employers have so much incentive to care about this because when they don't, it costs them big time. In any workforce, you generally have three types of people: those that are engaged, that are not feeling super stressed, and they feel recognized for the work that they do. Our quiet quitters that just show up, do their job, and go home. And then you have the loud quitters who are kind of menaces. They're in their reputation era. This group often intentionally is causing more problems because they feel wronged by the organization. And what causes someone to go from the green to the blue? Well, it's when the trust between employee and employer is severed. And nothing severs trust quite like the employer saying, hey, we know you've been working from home for 3 years and we've had record profits, but we don't trust you to do that anymore. So we'd like you to come back to the office and spend your own money on it while you're at it. For those of you who love remote work, don't forget to follow along for all the updates. And if you hate remote
All right. So, sorry, Morgan, I cut you off in your pitch. So the point she was talking about, like the cost of employee engagement, and for you guys who could see this, obviously, but for people who can't, employee engagement is a $8.8 trillion problem. And it's a huge problem right now. Like employee engagement's at like an all-time low. And then she also makes the point, about, basically people, basically really valuing flexibility more than ever and not getting burned out. So what's it like in the UK? Because are people generally just going back to the office? Like, is there the same? Because I feel like in the US, people just love remote work, but it seems, is it different in the UK? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I think there's a general consensus that like people. I think what's happened is with COVID and obviously with the pandemic, that has now changed everything. I think people, they're quite a big point, sort of view on this is that everyone obviously enjoys working from home. Let's be real. Let's the life balance that people want, and that obviously was incorporated in COVID. In the pandemic. Now, obviously, going back, what happens is that just from a neurotypical point, and then from a neurodiverse point, is that you end up becoming a hermit, and then when you come back out of that, you're getting anxious about social situations because of you've been working remote so much, and that's actually sort of happened within the last 2 years. Obviously, working remote, I don't like people anymore. I'm just.
You sure that's not just the recruiting though? Because recruiting,
it's just people. People just flaky, aren't they? But I think like it is right. Like I'd like going in like as I need to. Like next week, I'm flying out to Hungary about the team that I built, out in Hungary. So I'm going to go and meet all the engineers. But I enjoy. I don't want to do it too often though. I normally, when I had my own recruitment business, I had my own recruitment business for 5 years and going in the office every day, I loved it because obviously it's your baby, isn't it? But obviously going back to the sort of TikTok, like it is nice to go in the office and see people. But I think in a tech world, people like to be at home and in their environment like me.
Well, are the people that you recruit, like, is it like really quickly they're asking you, is this position remote? And like, is it still coming up all the time?
Of course, yeah. I think when the clear transparency of what the job is. So is it hybrid? Yeah, okay, hybrid. How many days in office is? I think people want to do as many minimal days as possible, especially if where the location is based, where the office is. But people quite enjoy going back to the office. And I think in the UK, at least 1 day, 1 week is kind of like their 2 days. Oh, I'm not too sure about 1 day. Oh yeah, that's fine. 2 days, a bit like, do you know what I mean? But because I think there's been a massive mind shift to having more healthy balances, especially like with children and wanting to pick your kids up and spend more time with your kids, and suddenly that big high flyer money, people willing to take 20-30 grand pay cuts to have that flexibility with their family, and be able to do, because like you said, like as we just mentioned, like people have got a voice now, and people are not frightened now to speak up and go, I'm not doing that. And but the pool of people that you said, like the menace people that want to every can't believe they're doing that, and it does happen. You see that environment, but obviously,
well, we see it play out. You said even just then, before we were talking about like on social media, like people have a voice, and it's really difficult for leadership because leadership. I was talking with a friend today, and he's been to put together like a piece of content around work culture and this whole idea, and like, can you really put people first, right, as a business? And I was saying, like, I think a big challenge for like CEOs and people who are, really high profile is, you say something and you're, an executive at a publicly traded company that could cost you millions, right?
Yeah,
like
one thing.
And so you can't say anything. You got to say, because anytime an executive at a large company speaks, they're not saying anything. And it's like, because they can't, because it's like, if you make a point and the point isn't in line with the brand of the company and you lose money, it's like you're literally losing money with that speech. Now, someone like me, or, someone like one of these employees who's just pissed off about the new return to office mandate, or maybe they're getting laid off, they turn a cell phone on and start recording, and they make a massive impact. So but I think you talking about it's the flexibility, right? And I think that to me I think our relationship with work has just changed. I think people's goals have changed, and it just changed, and I think it's hard to bring that back. And so unless you are doing, like Morgan said in that video, even the cost of commuting is a lot, like $561 a month. Yeah, I don't know what groceries are like in the UK, but in the US, it's expensive.
My fiance was saying to me the other day, like 3 meals, like just us. There's no, obviously I don't have any children. 3 meals, like £81, and that's just like for 3 meals. Like not even
which £81. I mean, in the US, that's like it's got to be 100,
100,
yeah,
5 or something around that. $105. You just work.
Let me see. Let me do the calculator here. So we got 80, or let's see, was it GBP to USD? Yeah, so it's one. If I got £80, so this is for 3 meals. It's costing you $101,
and that's shopping at Asda. Like that's not like you know, like remember the days of Asda?
Yeah. It's like maybe like Walmart or like Aldi type deal. It's not Whole Foods, right? What's that? No, Sainsbury's is like the Whole Foods, probably.
Yeah, you got your yeah. It's just you try and shop, but it's like you said, like the commute to London, like it's 100 and to go down to London. Luckily, like I can get our tickets like reimbursed for the travel, but even one trip down to London at peak time, obviously that would be 7 o'clock in the morning. It's 178 quid, £178 just to go down to London. But if you book it in advance out of the, should we say, peak times, then obviously it's a lot. It's probably about £78. But if you're going down for work, you can't not miss that. And I think it works out around about £5,000 a year just for travel to go down there.
Look, I'm yet to conclusive data that shows things like collaboration and culture improve in the office. Like there is no that's been done that shows that, because it's I don't know how to even measure it. But and studies where it was like remote work is more productive. I don't even know how they came up with those studies. I think this is extremely hard to measure. But what I know is when I just talk to normal people who are like, I'd rather work from home. Or at least, like you said, it's a hybrid, I think, is the way that most people, hybrid, because I like to get out of the house once in a while and meet people. Of course. That's I'm more focused at home, right?
Yeah, but I think...
Yeah, and it's that flex... go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, like, but you can't win, but, like, see, sitting at home all day, like, you're itching to get out. I don't think... Remote's brilliant, obviously you have that work-life balance, but you're in 4 walls all day as well, and sometimes you don't want to...
I've only got 3 here. I got 1 behind me, 1 here, 1 there, and then it's open here. So
you just jump out.
There you go.
But yeah, no, I just think it can affect mental health as well. Like, it's not like remote is brilliant. I'm not just saying that, but it is also, like you said, hybrid. I think is the new week. That's what most people want to be doing.
Well, look, we're at almost 40 minutes on the show, so I want to thank you for all of your time. I know it always flies by, and obviously we covered what we've covered. Some of the job seeker tips, tailoring your resume for each job application. I think that's just helpful to touch upon. We've obviously just talked about like the work day and like it's just the mess that it is for candidates right now, right? It's brutal. It's a lot of work you need, and then remote work. The way that I like to end these shows, and keep in mind this is going to go to the TikTok platform, Instagram, LinkedIn, because that's just where most of the people who are that follow me. But if you had, and we looked at some of your advice, but if you had one like just killer point that you would want to hammer home to people who are looking for a job right now, what would that one point be? Like, what would you want job seekers to focus on?
Be yourself.
Be yourself.
Be yourself. I think a lot of people mask of who they want to be, or they want to blend in. And I think, why do you want to be like everyone else? Because everyone else is taken. Why don't you just be yourself? Like, I think a lot of people need to sort of just go, Joe, what I am, who I am. If I'm neurodiverse, Do you know what I mean? I don't, you can't change that. So embrace that and talk about it. Have a voice, have your own voice. Be the sheep.
Yeah, I love it. And look, there's a huge pressure right now. I look, a lot of the content I've been putting out recently is about like these corporate structures and like, you know, the interview. I think you did a post about this. It's like the interview is just like this big performance. It's like, it's kind of a joke to me now, right? It's like people, most common question I get on my lives for job seekers are like, how do I answer this question? How do I answer that? And I'm like, a good way to answer a question is to be yourself and like talk from your own experience. And guess what? If they hear that and they're like, yeah, that's not the answer we're looking for, maybe it's not a company you want to work for. Like, you know, it's just, I think we've been really right now, what's happening is become really conditioned to have like the perfect resume that matches the job description. And then I've answered every single question right. And I'm like, this isn't a video game. This is like, this is
the quest.
This is where you're going to be spending your time. Boss defeated, unlocked, new job. Like if you treat it like that, it's no tenure, and you know, people are staying at jobs less. People are figuring out 6 months in, hey, this isn't a good fit. And ultimately, I want to put this not on candidates, because it's not candidates' fault. This is hiring managers, and this is people who are interviewing. We got to stop expecting like the right answer to questions. Because it means nothing. So anyone can say anything in a performance or an interview. So I'm going to put it back on companies and go back to that last slide that Morgan showed, where it's like right now, employee engagement being the way it is costing $8 trillion. You know, you could lay off your whole team and maybe cut some costs, but at the end of the day, if you don't fix that employee engagement, it's going to cost you trillions. And it starts with like interviewing and not going, why do you want to work here? And then they tell you where that reason is, and you like, that's not the right answer. Like, what do you mean that's not the right answer? Like, how can that be a wrong answer to that? You're asking someone why they want to work there. So I love that point. Be yourself. But I think for companies, you need to let people be themselves as well. And like, you know, if you're looking to add to your culture, you have to allow people to be themselves as well. So that's my rant on that.
It's definitely around the language as well that people use. I think that's definitely one of the key things is communication and how people communicate with each other. I think communication is such an underrated. I'm probably going to write about that tomorrow. Actually, it's something I had in my brain anyway around communication. I think obviously language used as well. It kind of there's a lot of learning. I think for businesses to use more inclusive languages, like catch-up meeting. That for me, I think I'm going to get sacked. You know, a catch-up meeting. Well, what is it? Oh, actually, the catch-up meeting is about a marketing drive or whatever that is. Automatically, I'm relaxed. Do you know what I mean? But if you put a catch-up
urgent meeting, urgent meeting. Oh my god, I'm getting
it's about a fucking pub night. Well, right, okay, thanks for that. But at the end of the day, you're sitting there worrying all day, and like you're sweating buckets, and God, I wonder what there's going to be and I'm playing it all through my head a million times, like asking everyone, is everyone all right with me? Like, do you know, it's stupid. And that's how it can affect you, but people don't really realize that they're doing it.
No, I love it, man. I love it. Well, look, where can people find you? What's the best place to connect with you? And what do you'd want to, you know, get people interested in? Like, do you have any side projects, anything like that? This is your opportunity
to get people to get them, reel them in. Do you know what? This is being brutal. This might sound cheesy or not. I'm only on LinkedIn. I just enjoy being on that platform. Good. I feel like after like years of being on the platform, like over years, 5 years, it's kind of my outlet to kind of like de-stress. I was just saying this in the podcast earlier. It's your outlet to speak about how you feel, and I think sometimes that when you don't have many friends and many people, that's kind of the platform to talk about experiences, to share that with other people, to help them. I'm not really just here to, it sounds so cheesy, I'm just here to help people, but it's just to kind of share my lived experiences from like the past, and with job seekers that are neurodivergent, that probably don't see the amount of level of support that they do get, and just talking about that more openly for other people to speak openly about their experiences or challenges, I like to say. But I'm not in for any money or anything, just to continue, obviously, build my own personal brand. For you never know when you might need that particular part, but yeah, it's all just for the fun of it, and I actually really enjoy all the funny images and writing. It's actually helped me better writer, writing that I've never been able to write or anyway. I think I got D GCSEs, but it's helped me write better and articulate myself more in an easier way.
I love it, man. I love it. We will put the link for Tom's profile on any of the social posts, obviously, that we do, and then in the notes of the podcast. So wherever you're listening to this, if it's on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, go check out the show notes. We'll have the profile in there, Tom's profile in there. And look, I highly advise going to follow Tom, because it's putting out real content. It's not out there for like likes and comments and selling that $9.97 course about engaging for 8 hours on LinkedIn. He's out there to help you, help people. And Tom didn't mention this, but he actually is a LinkedIn top voice as well, and like was part of like one of the creator programs in the UK.
Community top voice. I don't want to put over that. I'm
community top voice, but yeah, but I mean, like you got in the creativity program. Not everyone gets into that. And there's a reason for that, and it's because your content it's authentic. It's clear that you're out there for the right reasons.
I appreciate that.
And so, thank you for all your advice. And guys, remember, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do it on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. All those channels. And then if you don't follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok, go follow the content on there. I'm putting out 5 to 15 pieces of content each day. And if you got questions for me in a job search and you want to get a hold of me, LinkedIn is the best place to do that. Appreciate all of you guys. We will be back next week with another guest. And again, we're going to talk about trending topics that are going on in the recruitment and job seeker world, getting insights into topics that real topics from real people who are actually doing the jobs. So thank you for tuning in. And if you made it this far, huge shout out to you. We appreciate you. Congratulations, you made it. Recruiting is no joke. So appreciate you guys. Thanks again, Tom.
Thanks again. Thanks for having me, Joel. Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, take care.